In this video, Donald Trump goes toe-to-toe with this woke journalist after pushing a racial agenda. Okay, look, guys, if you're sensitive, this video is not for you. Viewer discretion is definitely advised on this one. Without further ado, let's ride.
A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And
Oh, man.
I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I've done so much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for black workers and black entrepreneurs. I've done so much, and you know, and I say this, historically, black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke, and I saved them, and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you can answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that black voters should trust you with another vote.
Yeah, so I just want to interject real quick, right? So personally, me, that is not the way you start an interview. That was not respectful of the person, whether Democrat or Republican. And if the person was Republican, I would literally say the same thing, right? So that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think. You don't interview somebody and immediately, right off the bat, go to the cue cards and start grilling them. Like, you know, have some decency, have some respect, even if you don't like the person, right? Because we're all human beings. We all at least deserve that level of respect. Back to the video.
Have been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
And for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work, in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace.
Let me just ask a follow-up, sir, and then we'll move on to the other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question,
No,
a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you would.
I just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So, I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly, very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect either
historically black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that she is?
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask continue
Trump
in a
is
very
hilarious,
hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I really
Republicans have
don't know.
said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be, could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that
Well,
interview.
you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we are divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, and they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the black population, is affected most by that, and Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country, and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners.
Now, real quick, I just want to pause there real quick. I want you guys, I want to know your guys' opinion, because I've seen this a lot on social media, right? Now, I understand what Trump means when he says black jobs, right? Let me know what you guys think about that in particular. For me, he could definitely word that different. I'm not going to lie, 1000%. Because you're kind of giving the Democrats, you're giving the left fuel. You're giving them some fuel to start spreading, right? If you give an ounce, anything at all, they're going to start spreading it, right? So I understand what he means. People of color, right? He could say, instead of saying black jobs, people of color. And also, if you're going to come, this way and say that, what jobs do people of color work the most? Do we have any data? Do we have any statistics on what specifically those jobs are? Do we have any statistics on what jobs are being taken, right? This is a game of chess, and I think the facts are going to speak the most, right? So, in my opinion, right? So, yeah, back to the video though. That's my opinion. Let me know your opinion. Back to the video though.
They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
True.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically.
Yeah.
How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community when it comes to money?
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, you know, this woman wasn't able to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word. It's very difficult, actually. But so I don't know if they can fix it or do something with it, but I'll do the best I can with it. The inflation is absolutely destroying our middle class, our working class, virtually every class. Inflation is a disaster in our country. Inflation is a country buster. It breaks every country. And we had, in my opinion, the worst inflation we've had. They say it's 58 years, but I think it's much more than that. It's been devastating.
Oh yeah, it's 1000% really bad, especially right now. And the one thing I'll say is why I'm definitely, you know, as crazy as it sounds, and I know, shoot, people may not like it. You know, people watching may not like it, but I mean, you know, I got to go with Trump. You know, Trump is going to run this country like he runs his businesses. America is a business. I'm going to say that again. America is a business, right? So, you know, you could have feelings about it. You could not like him. You could think he's this. You could think he's that, whatever it is, right? At the end of the day, that's just the facts of it. That's how the country is actually run. And without, I mean, without the proper administration, and without the foundation, you know, in terms of running things properly, in terms of business wise, that I think he could bring to the table, I think we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think.
And if you just take a look at a lot of things they don't include, like interest rates. Interest rates went from 2.4% to 10%, and you can't get the money. People can't buy houses. They no longer have the American dream. Young people, young black people, they don't have the American dream anymore. They can't buy a house. They can't borrow the money because of the cost of the money, because of the cost of housing, because of the cost to build it, because of inflation. Inflation is a disaster, and it's destroying our country, and it's destroying the black community probably as much or more than any other.
All right, real quick, guys, real quick. I'm gonna put a chart on the screen right here. It's gonna be next to me, and you're gonna see exactly what the inflation has been looking like. So I'm gonna read it here just real quick. Prices have risen 19.3% under President Joe Biden since he first took office, and it does say due to post-pandemic outbursts, while prices only rose by 5% under Donald Trump. So again, this is on bankrate.com. This is the official statistics by the Bureau. So yeah, I mean, there you have it, right? And again, we like to come with the facts, right? So I'm just showing you guys. Back to the video.
What's your plan?
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was...
And just to correct Donald Trump, right? We just read COVID was a contributor to that, which we all know. So, I mean, that's a strong argument that Trump could use, which he's using energy. But anyway, let's keep letting him rock.
Running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls. And then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed. And instead of saying, you know, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight. A prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing what you say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately, it's the same because they have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country. They're absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people in our country. Yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question?
Yes.
All right. But before we get there, let me just say this. So number one, when you have a guest, like there's got to be some sort of dignity, some sort of respect there, right? Again, I'm not trying to all the way go in on these, young, beautiful black women. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm going to be honest with you. Trump sat there, and again, you could have, thank you for joining us today, some X, Y, and Z. Just, that's it. It didn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to kiss his butt. Nobody's asking you to do that. And I would expect the same vice versa, right? Because we have to play fair on this channel. But one thing I will say is I agree with Trump 1000%. The only thing I will say that he could have used, the pandemic happened under his watch, so there's no way, I guess, he wouldn't use that, right? He would say, the Green New Deal, the Green New Scam, he likes to call it, right? So again, this is just, ultimately, and he's not going to say that, right? So, which again, I want to try to be as objective as possible with this stuff. But I have to call it like it is. I do agree with Trump, right? Ultimately, the inflation he is right. It is really, really bad. Okay. People can barely afford a home right now. People can barely afford groceries right now. There's a lot of people, a lot of American citizens that are hurting, right? And the one thing that I will say is I have not seen that particularly spoken to about on the left side of things, right? I see a lot of women's right. I see, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with women's right. I want to make sure I'm looking at the camera, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, absolutely, I'm for it. But at the end of the day, the country is hurting. So, in my opinion, I think we need to fix the foundation, fix our economy, fix lower gas prices, get us back going, and then we could focus on all the other stuff that you guys want to focus on. I'm still never going to want men to play women's sport, but that's just me, right? And that's just my opinion. So I agree with Trump here. I got to give it to him. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. All right, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you kick the like button, slap the subscribe button for more. Until next time, peace.